presented by Memphis Shades, the clear choice for custom windshields and fairings for your motorcycle. And Wild Ass Seats, stay in the saddle longer and in total comfort no matter your butt or budget.
Welcome back, everybody, to the 5 Dirty Bikers podcast. We have a great episode for everybody tonight. We have Adam Sandoval, and I think this is his third time on the podcast with us, and we have Aero from Ciro3D. So welcome, guys, to the 5 Dirty Bikers podcast.
Hey, hang on. Not just from Ciro.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Aero's the founder and president of Ciro. If Aero didn't exist, Ciro would not exist.
Oh, thank you for clarifying. For
Hey, people work hard and do amazing things, and they should be recognized for that.
Well, thank you.
Says the retired guy who doesn't have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah. Welcome. Well, I appreciate you straightening me out on that, Dave.
There you go.
So welcome to the podcast, guys. I know that we have a ton of questions for you guys. We have some questions even from our Discord members. And so we can just jump right on into it. So
sounds good. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for joining and making some time.
Well, the big thing we wanted to talk about, right off the bat, was this friggin' amazing bag, the El Sandoval, that just hit the market. It's been 2 weeks.
Roughly, yeah.
Right? Yeah. How are sales going? I'm sure through the roof.
Yeah, they're going well. Even before we launched the bag, we had just a ton of signups. As soon as Adam did that video, we had just hundreds and hundreds of signups for people to be notified on our website. So as soon as we got the stock in, we sent those all out and sold a bunch of bags right away. And all we've had is amazing feedback from them so far.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I have a big regret because I've been out riding around for the last 16 days and I didn't order the bag. Not because I didn't want it, but because the timing. It was released. You guys opened ordering the Friday before I left. Okay. And I didn't think it would get there in time. And our good friend Volts, my best riding buddy here, we both were going to order on Friday. He ordered, and it actually came in the night bore I left. So and he did everything he could to get me to ride down to DC to get his bag. And I'm like, dude, I'm not taking your new bag on this trip with what I'm going to be putting it through. And I really wish I had, because I took my old Kuryakin and I fucked up the paint on my tour pack. So I was cussing that decision for the last 16 days, but
it's really unfortunate, you big spoiled baby.
I'd like to interrupt and I'm going to cheers to the first F-bomb of the podcast.
Oh, there you go. There's the first one. There you go.
Well,
do you have tea in your cup too, Adam?
Negative. No.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So I'm looking forward to getting that, and before I leave on my next trip, and putting it through its paces. But I've been hearing great things about the bag, and why don't we just kick off with you guys? Just let us know, how did you even come up with the idea of doing the bag?
Adam.
I begged Aero to help me make it. I've been doing a little bit of riding and trying out different bags, and I had bags that I liked, but never one that I really loved. And I just really wanted a piece of luggage that wasn't motorcycle specific, in the sense that I wanted it to function like a motorcycle specific bag, but I didn't want it to be exclusively a motorcycle bag, because, lately I've been doing some flying into places and jumping on bikes. And some of my motorcycle luggage that I have is just very clearly motorcycle luggage. And you bring that through the airport or anybody else, it's cumbersome. It doesn't carry well. It doesn't travel well. It'll mount up to your bike okay, but it's just not a good all-around piece of luggage. And I've got a bunch of luggage sitting on shelves in my garage and everywhere else that are only good if I strap them to the bike. And even then, the materials or some of the functionality just never really hit the mark for me. So I said, I want to design a bag. I've packed and unpacked a lot of bags in my day, and I think that we can design something really cool. So I took some of my favorite features that I've seen out there and changed some things and did some of my own style to it and brought it to Ciro and begged Aero to make this bag. How long did I beg you to make this bag before you made it for me, Aero? Can we call that out now?
Yeah, we've been talking about making a bag for almost ever since we met. Like that was one of your main things you wanted.
From the get-go. I'm like, dude, I need somebody to help me make a bag. Because listen, I can use a bag, I can design a bag, I can tell you what works well, but can I physically go on a computer and make a bag and send it all and find the companies and source it and manufacture it and know what materials and what stitching? And no, I don't know that end of it. I just know I need a pocket here and I need it to be thicker, or I need this to be waterproof, or, I want these features, but how to actually design the bag physically, way out of my wheelhouse. But that's what Aero does real well.
Yeah, that's what we specialize in. So he was working with one of our designers who's been with us since the beginning, which is 10 years ago was when I founded Ciro with a team of 3 designers. So Adam was working with Darren. They were going back and forth on this bag for a long time, probably close to a year on just this one. And I mean, we had some previous iterations too that we opted not to make because we were waiting for just the perfect thing. But I think we've achieved that with this bag. So we're really excited about it.
Absolutely.
Well, I was telling him before, Brian, you got on. I mean, to me, I always say there are people who ride and there are riders.
Right.
I think those are 2 very different things.
Sure.
What I've seen of this bag, and then some of the reviews I've seen and everything, and then of course listening to Adam's videos going over it, this is a bag for riders.
Okay.
And I greatly appreciate that. And I spent a lot of time over the last 16 days as I was dicking around with my stuff, trying to figure out. And I was dealing with like 40-degree temperature shifts during the day. You're riding for 12 hours. It's 40 when you leave, and it's 80 something in the afternoon. And I was constantly shifting out of gear the whole time thinking, damn, that Sandoval bag's got that flap. If I had that flap, I wouldn't have to worry about bungee cording my jackets in and out, whenever I change. So I really appreciate, as a rider, the little details that you guys came up with. And I assume, Aero, that's because you guys took everything that you've gleaned knowledge-wise over, motorcycling over the years together with Adam to kind of bring that all into focus.
Yeah, pretty much all the functionality and all the stuff you're actually going to use on the bag was all Adam's ideas of what he's encountered over his hundreds of thousands of miles of riding. Because, I mean, all of us at the office, we're riders, but not nearly as much as Adam is. Because, I mean, we've got to spend a lot of time actually in the office designing stuff. But our specialty was just kind of getting it all made because, I mean, that takes a decent amount of effort as well. So, I mean, we've had a bag line out for about 2 years, which is kind of our own thing. It's just dry force bag. And it was something we did to like test the waters with new suppliers, figure out materials, figure out how to waterproof things properly. And so we learned a lot with that bag line, and we had a couple little hiccups here and there, but it was all stuff that I'm glad we figured out before we decided to do Adam's bag, because now his is like the evolution of that line.
Okay. So what, because this kind of falls into what Dave said earlier about riders. From a functional standpoint, because this is what I ran into last year. Tell me a little bit about the all-weather capabilities of the bag.
I mean, you want me to answer this, Aero?
Whoever. I don't care who answers.
All capabilities. It's waterproof, and I mean, what kind of stuff have you encountered on the road, Adam, that you would see this bag really helping out with?
Well, there's just, I mean, I would say it's submersible. I mean, it's more than just, waterproof or water resistant. I mean, it's submersible. I mean, you could put a rock on that and sink to the bottom of your river for a year and come back and your stuff's dry.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That's pretty. So is it, so the bag itself is built like that. It's not a bag that requires a cover to do that with.
Right. And the real thing I wanted was it not to look like it that low, right?
That's
so
awesome.
It is 100%, waterproof, but the material looks like a normal piece of luggage.
Sure.
So it doesn't. Do you have one there with you, Aero? Or I got mine packed in the other room. I can grab it and show it.
I can grab one from downstairs. I think it's loaded up with ammo right now because I brought it to the range just to test out.
It works good for the range too, doesn't it?
Yep.
Wow, motorcycle and range bag. That's the perfect biker gift.
And it's
pretty awesome.
It's just, you know, the material is very thick, and it's like a ballistic material. It's not like a rubber bag. You know what I mean?
Right.
So when it's on your bike, it looks like a legit piece of luggage. Or when you're going through the airport, it looks like a legit piece of luggage. Or if you're, you know, strapping it to whatever, it looks like a legit piece of luggage, but it's waterproof,
Right.
like legitimately.
Yeah,
And
I
that's-
use a dry. I've got several dry spec bags that I travel with, and the reason I couldn't take it on this one is the one I have for my seat's only 20 liters, and it just wasn't big enough. And that's another thing I really appreciate about this bag is that, you know, because dry spec bags are great. I highly recommend them.
Yeah.
But they look just like the Wolf stuff, right? They look like a
Like you're gonna get on a
dry
boat.
bag.
Yeah.
Yeah, they look like a rubber
Yeah.
bag. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely a you know, form and function idea, and that's why I asked you about that, Adam, because I think that's the one thing that when Dave was talking about, you know, being a rider, is that if you're going to do that and you're going to put on miles, and the guys that I ride with, we're the same way. When we decide to go on a trip, if we get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and we, you know, always check the weather, if it's going to rain, we just change our gear and get on our bikes and go. It doesn't determine whether or not we're actually going to make that ride. And so the idea of having something that doesn't require a rain bag or a rain fly to go over top of it, because those things are always, they're complicated. I mean, we've had to pull over on multiple occasions, and rain flags usually work pretty well, right? But we've had to pull over on multiple occasions on you know, rides where we've had to like adjust someone's rain fly or put another strap on it because it's coming off or something like that. And so to know that you can put your stuff in the bag, and if you hit that, you know, oh, it's 95 degrees out, and I'm not going to put my rain gear on because I've been sweating my ass off all day long, but I don't want my shit to get wet. At least you know that you don't have to get out, put the rain fly on your bag, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's packed, it's strapped on your bike, and all your stuff is ready to go.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a rider and you do any type of distance, climate change is just a part of the life.
Absolutely.
And if you are strapping and unstrapping your luggage every time it rains, listen, it's hard enough to get in them rain suits.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
Yeah. Wait till you get a little older and try to stand on one leg. It's
You know what I mean?
It's even more difficult.
That's difficult enough. You know, so to then unstrap your whole bag, put the rain fly on, restrap it all down, sounds minor.
Right.
When you're racing
No,
a
it's
storm
annoying.
coming in and you're dealing with all that and you're on the side of the road, it's just one less thing to worry about.
Yeah. And sometimes, you know, as much as we hate it, sometimes those rain suits are a necessary evil. You know, if you know, I mean, we saw it last year on your first trip. I mean, what you had, like, there was days when it just rained from the time you got on your bike till the time you stopped at the hotel.
Yeah, I think it was 84 or 86 days the convoy was, and I think we had like 67 days of rain.
That's
Right.
crazy.
So
That's
a rain
crazy.
suit's a necessary evil, and a bag that's not leaking is a necessary evil in those kind of situations.
Yeah, those are two things you got.
Well, speaking about rain, and Dustin's not with us tonight. His son's playing his first baseball game of the season, and we wish him well and success. But I guess 2 or 3 years ago, you know, I used to wear like the typical Harley rain gear and stuff, and Dustin recommended Frog Togs to me. And I've got to tell you, that's the best rain gear ever. I mean, it's just super comfortable. I don't know what you use, Adam, but I had 2 days. I only caught 2 days out of 16 with rain on this last trip, so I'm, you know, very grateful for that. But
Yeah, that's a blessing.
but that stuff was like super protective and not bulky,
Yeah,
you know, and restrictive like a lot of rain gear gets. But
Frog Togs, I've ran it. It's good stuff. I'm running a Klein gear right now that I really like. I think that's the best I've ridden, in my opinion. But I mean, I was just telling Aero a month ago. I said, man, we should develop some rain gear.
there you go.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, there's
I
a
think room for
it's-
improvement there.
yeah, there's
Let me
it's-
know
it's
if
a
you want
market
some
for sure.
female input, because I bought rain gear and it's just like any other female stuff, it's a pain in the ass to find something that's not like obnoxiously large on you and like
Yeah.
in your way.
For sure.
I have frog togs as well, Dave.
Love frog talks.
Yeah.
Aero, you're going to dump your ammo out?
Yeah, show us the
Let's see
bag.
what what you're shooting.
No, it's mostly empty.
No, we want to see the ammo, man. What do we?
I know. I want to see what he's shooting.
Let's see what we got here. Bunch of 45 ACP.
There you go. There you go.
All right.
But yeah, anyway, so this is kind of the construction of it. You've got the material on the outside that doesn't actually look like it's waterproof, but then your inner liner is what causes waterproof ability. And so this is actually removable too. We've got a super strong Velcro around it. So you can take that outer liner off, take the outer one, or take the inner one out if you want to.
Okay.
But then this was the other flap he was talking about where it makes it easy to get to like rain gear or something like that if you need to. You can just store that right here so it's easy access. But yeah, there's a ton of cool features on here. You got the molly panels, got all these spots for the tie downs. We've got the latch strap kits too that can tie it down to pretty much any bike. And it's accessible from both ends too. You can open the bottom or the top. So if you've got a pack full and you need something at the bottom, you don't have to unload all your stuff to get to it, which was
That's
one of
amazing.
Adam's good ideas. So
Yeah.
And-
So the liner, out of curiosity, so if I'm going to take this on a business trip or a non-motorcycle trip and I'm going to fly, do you take that inner liner out to make it more packable or
no,
anything?
I wouldn't really reduce your size. So I would just leave that in at all times.
You know, you certainly can remove it. So like the removable liner, you know, would be a great scenario should you find yourself on a trip and you end up buying a bunch of stuff and you need an extra bag and you're not worried about rain, you know, you just got a day ride home or something. It's going to be sunny, whatever. You'd be able to have 2 bags at your convenience out of there if you needed it for expansion, right?
So you're not
And
just a rider, you're a shopper.
right. If you're a shopper, this is a convenient thing to have. You know, so you know, it's one of those deals where, you know, it serves a purpose, it's a function, it doesn't add up any extra space, but it is also 2 separate bags should you need it for any reason.
Right. And
Great idea.
don't underestimate the idea that the inside of that bag is a nice bright color.
Right.
Because there's nothing worse than all of us taking all of our black motorcycle shirts and putting them inside a black bag.
Yeah, for sure. High vis is everything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can see it, how much light gets in there, even all the way to the bottom. It's hard to get that camera angle right, but
Yeah. I mean, that really is, I think it's an undersold feature that not enough bag companies use is a high vis liner in their bags. And I know that, you know, it's not exclusively to you guys, but I really love the thought put into the idea of that, because it really does make a huge difference when you're doing that, to have the inside of your bag look like that. Now let me ask you one more question about the outside of that bag. Did you guys do any testing about, because I know that this has been an issue, and Dave talked about it with his bag, another company bag that he used. What about if that bag were to rest on a, you know, the top of a saddle bag or the top of a case? Is that made out of something that you're not going to just automatically know that you're going to scratch up your paint on your bike?
Well, no. I mean, nothing. I don't think there's a material alive that can guarantee that besides maybe like microfiber, and even that with enough rubbing is gonna wear on your paint.
Right.
But it's not so abrasive that just setting it on there or some movement or is going to break it down. Right. The weave pattern's a lot tighter. Some of the other luggage that I've seen, either it's so tight that the material's thin.
Yep.
And then it compromises the luggage, or it's robust like this one, but the pattern's so wide and so aggressive that just a little bit of a shift, next thing you know, you're rubbing through your seat, you're rubbing through, you know, your paint. So, you know, we got a good material there that's tight enough pattern that it's not going to be overly aggressive or abrasive, but it's still robust enough to last you. I mean, I can't say this because we don't have a lifetime guarantee on it, although we probably should. I think this is a once in a lifetime bag. I mean, I think you buy this bag and I think you hand this off to your son. I mean, I just don't think, I don't see how anybody could wear this bag out. I just don't.
I don't like my son that much.
That's
but,
awesome.
but you do bring up a good point, because that's another problem that I had on this trip that I noticed on day 2 was the bag that I was using, which was my Kuryakin Vagabond. I'm going to do a video on it, so I'm just going to say it now. Was actually rubbing the leather on my passenger pad on my tour pack. So I, besides putting duct tape over all the buckles and the D-rings, the metal D-rings, which let's make a point, right? You don't have any metal on this.
No metal. We cut off no metal.
I had to steal borrow a hotel bath towel and like lay that out across my tour pack, so that the bag wasn't rubbing directly on the leather, which made me look awesome going down the highway with the white bath towel flapping back and forth on the sides. But all of our tie down points and everything are all looped material, no metal, nothing that should. I mean, there's some not plastic, but like poly buckles, but nothing no metal or anything that's gonna create that kind of damage. I mean, anything, if it's got enough movement, sure, can create damage. Right.
You know what I mean? But nothing. We got rid of all the stuff that's obviously just shouldn't be on the bag, right? I mean,
yeah. From the outside, it looks like a very minimalist design. Aero, what's the actual? And I tried to look this up on the website. Don't know if you guys actually have a spec for it, but usable space inside. What's the usable capacity with a good like 2 twists on each end for the seal?
That's tough. Do you remember what that would be, Adam?
We did come up with the number. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head. I should probably know that.
Was it over 40 liters?
No, it's more than that. It's because it's bigger than other 40-liter bags we tested.
Somewhere between 40 and 60, if I remember correctly, because we have a 40-liter and we have a 60-liter.
I got it in my notes.
Horse line, and it's definitely larger than the 40, but it's not quite as large as the 60. So
I think that's one of the downsides. When I get mine, I'll do a typical full spec'd out review, but the reviews I've seen so far, everybody's like rolling it down, right, to like a medium or something. You never get a full understanding of just how much you can actually pack into
we said 50 liters.
50, that's decent size, man.
That was our number, 50 liters.
Yeah, that's a good size bag for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And if you take the time to roll your clothes properly, I mean, you can pack plenty in
endless.
A bag. Yeah.
I mean, you just don't feel it. You don't feel it. And that's 50 liters with, like you said, rolled on both sides properly. You could probably squeeze a couple more in there if you had to. But yeah, and that's a big bag. 50 liters is a big bag.
Yeah. I think my dry spec, one of my dry specs, I think is 40. Mm-hmm. And that's big. I mean, that's set sideways. When on my Fat Bob, I had that on the back of the luggage rack behind the sissy bar. That was really wide.
Yeah, so add 25%.
Nice.
Yeah. No, that is a good size.
And so we gave it, and this was, Aero, you gave me credit for everything, but when we added the size, this was your team that we gave it the extra size in the girth.
Right.
So it doesn't become overly long where it's unmanageable.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So when we wanted to create more size and we wanted to add liters, we did it in the girth.
Sounds like that's probably appreciated.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure.
It's a general rule. Yeah.
Thank God Tony Cox isn't here right now. But,
yeah.
No, I mean, that's a really good point. That's one of the things I was really interested in, because Adam, in yours, as you were packing it out, you could see where that volume was, like in the total diameter of the bag where it was going out, because, I mean, things can be too long.
Mm-hmm.
They really can.
But too girthy, not very often you find it too girthy.
Yeah,
Well, he said it. Can't be too girthy.
there you go. So
That'll be our quote for the show. We'll just make sure we
before
throw
you-
that out there.
before
Yeah.
we go on, I guess a question for both of you two. Put your marketing hats on. If there were one reason and one reason only that you would say this is the best bag for riders, and you should get this bag over the others, what would that one thing be?
I mean, how broad can we be?
You can be as broad as you want.
You know, I mean, it's just a function. I mean, the function of that bag is what makes it what it is. You can get other dry bags, you know, but the fact that you can strap this bag down with all safe strapping and still access your gear without unstrapping your bag is a big deal to me. You know what I mean? That in itself is a big deal to me, you know, because I know I'm gonna run across different climates on a day if I'm putting out any real miles.
Yep.
So I know I'm gonna need different types of gear. And if I can prepare for that and put that gear under that flap for that day, and all I'm doing is swapping or layering, I mean, it just saves you and maybe it's just me, maybe it's a pet peeve, but I do a lot of traveling where, you know, I don't travel and then stay 5 nights and then travel home. I travel, stay a night, travel, stay a night, travel, stay a night, travel, stay a night. So I'm constantly packing and unpacking every day.
Yep.
Right.
And so if I have to do that on the road on top of it, forget it. Like, I mean, I'll do it. Obviously, I've done it, but to be able to eliminate that is huge for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was telling my wife the other day when I called her, I was literally counting down the days I had left on the trip by the number of times I had to unpack and repack. You know, it's like, yes, this is the last time I got to pack this crap.
It does become an irritation for sure.
It is.
And you know, like what really always gets me is you get your bike packed down to that perfect point where nothing is moving, everything is where it should be. Everything is perfectly comfortable, right? And inevitably you hit weather or something like Adam says, and you have to like open up or get into something, and now it's not perfect anymore. And now something's shifting behind you, and you hit a bump, and you know whatever happens, and you're like, damn it, now you got to pull over. And you know, there's nothing worse when you're riding a 600 or 700 mile day, and you're in that point of the day when you've hit maybe your second wind, and you're really just in the moment, and you're having an unplanned stop, and it just adds that one little extra bit of fatigue that you just didn't really want to deal with.
True. So true.
It's just it becomes incredibly irritating. I know last year a buddy of mine had he had brought his bike to a shop that we won't name, and they did some work, and it ended up causing an issue for us when we got on the road, and I had to ride 40 miles one way and 40 miles back, so it ended up being my longest day that I ever rode. And I beat Dave's longest day doing that day, by the way, just to put that out there. But that, that one little thing that could have added that extra bit of stress or whatever to your day, those things happen, and you can't plan for them. But when your gear is doing what it's supposed to be doing in that process, that in itself is so invaluable on a long day of riding. And because those little things can be such an irritation. And at the end of your 6 days on the road, you've packed and unpacked your bike, like you said. I travel with my group of guys. We do much the same thing. We'll plan a 6-day trip, but we're going to be 4 or 5 states away. So it's like, we're going to travel a day, stay a night, travel a day, stay a night, then maybe get to where we're going, stay 2 nights, and then back is going to be the same thing. And so you've packed and unpacked your bike enough times, and if it becomes irritating when shit's not working out the way you want it to.
So true. And we sound like divas right now, I'm sure, but
hey, it is
like, you got to pack and unpack your bike. But the reality is, man, if you're a real rider and you do that stuff and you're out there doing it, it's an annoyance. I mean, it just is.
Right. And you can say that. Yeah, people say that all the time, and I tell people a lot, because I live in North Dakota, And so one of the things I do, and I've said it a million times, and all of our listeners have heard it a million times, but I ride with heated gear a lot. And it's just because I know myself well enough to know that my weakness is I can't regulate my body temperature as well as I want to. And so the key to riding a 650 or 700-mile day is comfort.
For sure.
And so,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna apologize to anybody. They're like, oh, well, you rode so far because you have your heated jacket. I don't give a shit. Ride 650 miles with me.
I don't care if it's on a bike or not. If you travel a lot, like for years, I used to I averaged about 135,000 miles in the air, 95% of that within the US. That's a lot of flying. And people my wife used to make fun of me, but I had very specific things, and the little things make a difference.
They do.
But Aero, I think you come across as like an amazing product designer, and that stuff gets you excited. What's your killer feature of this bag? What's your one thing?
I'd have to go with versatility, just because, it is a bag for riders, but it's also a bag that anyone can use. And so I know so many riders that are into a whole bunch of other stuff too, like side-by-sides, fishing, like kayaking, just sportsman stuff in general. And so this bag you can take on your bike, or you can take it to do any of that stuff with you. Like you're going hunting, load this thing up with whatever you need. You're going to go, you could even send your kid to school with it if you want. Like there's just endless possibilities for it, which is one of the reasons I like it so much. So,
yeah.
And it'll hold 50 liters of 45 ACP.
Exactly.
So
Maybe.
Just be a few thousand rounds.
for the range.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yep.
Of course.
Well, very cool.
Yeah.
So
Can I ask
You
two
guys-
questions?
yeah.
So you're in North Dakota, you said,
I am, yeah.
but your shirt is from South Dakota, no?
My shirt's from South Dakota. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
snap.
I'm supporting Sasha's Cycles tonight. Yeah,
Just making
absolutely.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
all right.
So
That's
there's
one.
there's a little story around that. So
Okay.
I'm going to be doing social media and content creation for our friends in Whitewood, South Dakota at the Iron Horse Inn for Sturgis this year. And so I'm going to be up there for 18 days. And so I always have to make sure that I represent my friends up there. And so I was able to meet and spend some time with Sasha last summer. And then a buddy of mine, he rides a 96 Ultra. And again, some shop did some work on his bike, and they didn't do tire balancing correctly on his rear tire, and he broke all of his spokes on the backside of his tire while we were in Sturgis. And Sasha was extraordinarily just opened up his doors, opened up his arms, everything. And Sasha's like, I'm sorry, I can't help you, but you can have any of this. And so he just opened up his shop and opened up his arms. And so my buddy went there and he got him a tire, got him all the stuff. My buddy did the work himself, but used Sasha's shop to do a bunch of that stuff. And then, turns around and he was like, what do I owe you for all this? And Sasha said, nothing, man. I just needed to get you back on the road, and if you've met Sasha and that's the kind of guy he is, right?
He's a rad dude.
Yeah, man. And so, I just had to show a little love to my boy out there in South Dakota tonight for that. And then our friends at the Iron Horse Inn that, in Whitewood that are also good friends with his. So
Very cool.
so that's where that came from. But yeah, so you were right. You knew it. You called it there. But yeah, so I live in Grand Forks, which is on the east side of the state. I'm about 100 miles from the Canadian border.
Heck yeah. Second question is what were the biggest mile days that you guys had? That's I want to know.
Dave, what was yours?
Apparently 15 miles short of yours after you did it and texted me.
Yeah, mine was Dave's was like 760 or something like that.
Yeah.
I think mine was 785.
Like literally probably 4 weeks later, I get a text from Brian. Neener.
Yeah.
I just beat you out.
Yeah.
So what's your longest day, Adam? You've had a few.
Yeah, 1363.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
On purpose? You didn't do that on purpose, did you?
Yeah, man.
But was that like a goal ride, or like that wasn't an iron butt or anything, right? That
That
was
was
just
that was a. I really want to see a woman ride.
No,
wow. Women will
Oh.
jack you up, bro.
Yeah, buddy.
that was some
Yeah.
serious motivation there.
I was in upstate Wisconsin, up in northern Wisconsin, and I rode to Texas for who's now my wife. Because
Wow.
I wanted to see her before I had to go on another trip out west. So I did it in one day just so I could spend a whole night with her.
Wow.
That's a good story. I like it.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
Is that why she married you? Anybody that would ride
Probably.
that far, I gotta say yes to.
Yeah, that's probably it.
that
That's
one
insane.
thing. It was just that one thing.
Just that one thing, you know.
God, I feel like such a fucking wuss now, man. Ugh.
No, bro. I
It's
hated
okay,
it.
Dave.
I don't subscribe to that. It was the worst. It was so painful.
Yeah.
And I did it with my dog.
Oh,
yeah.
So you were making piss stops.
Everything, yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Aero, what's your longest ride, man?
Oh man, you guys don't want to know. That's embarrassing compared to you.
I don't even remember mine, Aero. We went to Birmingham, Alabama. I think that's the longest that we've done, but I forget how many miles that was.
What was it about? It was about 300 miles for you, Brittany.
Well, let me look.
But,
I have
but you
no
did it
idea
in 4
how far
days,
that is.
so I mean that's okay.
I did not.
No, Aero, what kind of riding do you do?
Mine's only around like probably 350 for a day. I don't really
That's
go
a
out on
decent
the
ride.
super long rides. I like kind of short, faster rides, but my favorite thing is just trying to find like new roads. So I've done like pretty much every road around the area, still looking for more stuff, and just got a adventure touring bike, the Pan America, that I've been
Nice.
ripping this season a little bit. So now I'm exploring more like the gravel stuff and off road. So
Nice. So are you guys going to start making more products geared towards that market?
not so much. No, I don't think it's a large enough market for us yet, and we're not really known for that. So we're definitely focusing on the new 24 models, the new Street Glide, Road Glide, that new body style. We want to have just a full line of product for that as soon as we can. So we'll have a few things coming out for Sturgis, and the rest of it will follow shortly in Daytona 2025. So that's definitely what we're focused on for new projects. But for the adventure touring stuff, we're just gonna showcase like what Adams Bay can do on that, and we're gonna showcase our phone holder, drink holders, stuff that's existing that'll work on that type of thing.
Well, my offer still stands. We're having our big 5 Dirty Biker meetup in Whitewood at the Iron Horse Inn, 26th through the 28th, which you guys will probably be setting up for for Sturgis. If you guys want to come by and just show off anything or sell anything or whatever, we're going to have a ton of people there. Love to have you.
The invite. We'll be there for the pre-rally this year. My dad and I usually go out. He's 82 now, and he's still riding his 2004 Electric Glide. So
wow,
a tradition we've had ever since I was 16 was the first year he took me out to Sturgis, and we've been riding every year since. So,
did you guys found the company together?
No, him and my mom founded Kuryakin in 1989.
Really?
Yeah, right in their garage in Hudson, Wisconsin. So.
I love my Kuryakin Vagabond. I take back what I said earlier about it marking up the paint. I just do not.
His feelings would be hurt. They sold the business in the early 2000s, and then he retired. A couple of years before I started Ciro. But I mean, he was huge in my education in the motorcycle industry, and I learned so much from him. I couldn't have done it without him and these other guys too, the designers. I actually met them when I was working at Kuryakin, because I worked there for about 4 or 5 years. As I was going to high school and in college, I'd work there every summer, and I'd go to a lot of the shows with them, do mechanic stuff, sales. And then by the end of my time there, I was working in the design center. So becoming friends with those guys, I knew I liked them, knew they're good guys. And when Kuryakin became too corporate in late 2000 or 2008, 2010, around that time, they weren't enjoying it anymore. So I got the idea hey, let's break off, start something new. And that's how Ciro came to be.
That's super cool, man. That's super, as a former small business owner myself, I know what that journey's like, and it can be a little scary, but I think, just like I had good success, and clearly you guys are killing it,
Thank you.
It's worth taking that first step.
A lot of name recognition, and it took a while.
Yeah.
It took longer than I was expecting, but now
Always
the brand's
does.
pretty well launched, and we get a lot of people know who we are now. So it's been going well.
So how'd you hook up with Adam?
How was that? I think you were actually with Kuryakin briefly before we met.
I was with Kuryakin.
Something happened there where you were looking for new sponsors, and we were like, we had similar products, but in my opinion, ours are better. So then we met shortly after. I don't know if you remember exactly.
Yeah, I remember. I remember. I remember. I left Kuryakin because we won't just bash Kuryakin, but I left Kuryakin because some things went sideways that shouldn't have gone sideways, and I was pretty public about it at the time because I felt taken advantage of. And and that can happen in this game. And anyhow, so I was pretty public about it. And then I said, you know what, I'm going to find another company to work with. I think I put something on the internet about that. I think your sister reached out to me and said, hey, we've got a company, we'd be interested in working with you. And then I flew up and I met you guys. We went out to dinner in Hudson or something like that. Your dad showed up.
I remember that. Pier 500 in Hudson. Super good restaurant.
Yeah, super good restaurant. And we left with a handshake deal, and that's how Adam and Ciro started.
That's awesome.
But you didn't start out designing stuff together.
No,
right?
I was just using their products.
You're just going to promote their products and stuff.
Yep, I was just using their products and promoting them. Yep.
But then somehow, because I know there are other Sandoval accessories made by Ciro, which I hate you for, because I thought I was done with my bike until you and I met up here last year when you were on the convoy, and I'm like, God damn it, I got to get those foot pegs.
Yeah.
What? How did the relationship evolve into that?
That is, I don't want to steal the floor, Aero. If you want to talk, you can, but I certainly can give my point of view on it too.
Yeah, go ahead. Say how you remember it. I'll kind of tell you my perspective as well.
All right. I just knew that I'd been using their products. I knew they designed and developed good products. We had created a good relationship through, just good business. And I really wanted to start designing products. I had my own merchandise line, the t-shirts and the hats and all that stuff. But I really wanted to get into, and I've had this spill my guts to Aero on the phone multiple times, where it's like, Aero, I just really feel like I want to be in the development space of this motorcycle community. Like, I love making my videos. I love doing my traveling, but I want something that is long-term, sustainable in the industry. And I want to use my experiences to make a difference. Like, I truly think we can make some cool stuff that other companies are going to have a hard time making because they just don't spend the time in the saddle because they're busy making it. And together we can really just make something great. And you got all the resources I need to do it. And I got none of them. So please just help me take this next step in my career. I remember like multiple times, just for multiple different products, asking Aero to just, stand beside me and help me. And he said yes. And we started with 1 and then 2 and then 3 and, just started making more stuff together.
Yeah, we've had that exact conversation like multiple times for sure. And it was always, it's the timing of like what we got going on, because we stay super busy with our projects and we want to get Adam's projects in there too. And so, I mean, starting off with those floorboards, that was kind of something we already had our own version of. So it was easy to adapt a version for Adam with his styling in it. So that was kind of to test the waters there, and people were really loving those. And so we're like, all right, let's do something a little bit bigger. So we went and did the seat, which was only an Adam product. Like, we don't have our own seat, as solely based on his input and like discretion. So we went with the seat. That was super successful. And then we went back and forth with the bag for a long time, because that one, we knew we wanted to get that perfect, because that was like your number one request you've had since the beginning.
For sure.
That's the most recent project, and I'm sure there'll be more in the future as well. But
Amen.
We're still super excited about the bag, and it's fun watching that take off.
So Aero, I have a product question for you, and I don't want to speak out of turn, so it's a question. So, when you guys changed your lighting design, was it last year, and you added the modulator to have the blinking lights and that kind of stuff? Is it true that modulator does not work with the old lights?
That's true, because the module is actually built into the light housing and the circuit board itself.
Okay.
So there's no way to add that after the fact.
You're breaking my heart, man. You're breaking my heart. Because I saw those, and other than, I've never been a person that is super flashy with the lights. I mean, I want them to function, and then obviously there's, especially the rear lights, that there needs to be a safety feature, right? And obviously the idea of having lights that can modulate and blink when you hit your brakes and that kind of stuff is always going to draw more attention. And my lights are perfect. There's nothing wrong with them. They haven't broken or stopped working or anything. So I can't upgrade yet. So
is that why you don't like riding behind me, because you're jealous? Because my
no,
bike's
you're
newer
too
and I
slow,
can do
Dave.
that?
You're too slow. I don't ride behind you because you're too slow.
Yeah, but kind of the reason it doesn't work with the old stuff is because you don't have that separate module under the seat, which was our goal, was to eliminate that, because that's 2 purchases for the customer. So I mean, the under the seat module is usually like $150, and then you've got your light purchase on top of that. And so the way we did it with the Light Strike technology, having it all built into the rear end lighting, you don't need that extra purchase. So it ends up saving you money, as well as you get more functionality with the Bluetooth in your phone. So
right, unless you have all of it already, then you're just screwed.
yeah, I mean, you'll get a new bike eventually, get new lights eventually. So
yeah, no, it was just one of those things. I'm like, oh man, he's breaking my heart here. Like I just, but your products are, it's a testament, right? Because I've had them on my bike since I've put them on there, and they work just as good as the very first day that I put them on. And just little things that you think about. You have to change your tags every year on your license plate, and you have to take the bracket off and do all that kind of stuff. And it works just as perfect from the day that I installed it as it does now. I in fact, I just took it all apart, or had to replace my tags and everything, and do that just recently. And so, and Dave and I have talked about this a bunch of times, and sometimes I don't want people to get the wrong idea, because when we have guests on of companies that we run their products, I'm not blowing sunshine up anybody's ass. Right. I'm not just saying this because, I want you to like me. I'm saying it because before today, you didn't know that I've had your lights on my bike for 4 years. Let's make that clear. Right. And so I have posted on my own social medias. I've done, all of those things, and not because I'm trying to gather anybody's attention or gather attention from you guys, as much as that when I have a product that I like, and I want other people to know that these things are good and worth their time and money, right? Because that's one of the hardest things about, when you're passionate about motorcycling, is that, and we've all done it. You make that purchase, you're super excited, and you put it on your bike, and it either doesn't work for you or it's garbage. And not because, because maybe you took somebody's word for it. Maybe you did your research and your own research sucked. Right. But, and sometimes it doesn't work for you because you made a mistake. And then that happens too. I mean, Tony's talked about it all the time. He said, before, he felt like when he we all started on Sportsters, right? And he had a Sportster, and he said he probably installed 6 sets of bars on his Sportster before he found the pair that were perfect. It doesn't mean the previous 5 set of bars sucked. It meant that they didn't fit right. They didn't do what they wanted them to do, whatever. Right. And so, that's one thing that I always try to make sure that's clear to people, that if I am running it on my bike and I'm telling people, hey, these are good things, it's because, I put 11,000 miles a year on my bike, and I live in a cold weather environment. So to do that in a 3-month or 4-month span, I ride my ass off in those 4 months. So, to say that you guys have good products is because they have a lot of miles on my bike, and they're still working as well as the day that I put them on there. So
thank you. Yeah, we put a lot of effort into making sure it's up to motorcycle grade quality, because there is such a thing as like motorcycle grade LEDs, which is kind of a phrase we've coined in the market, because if you're using like house grade LEDs, you can get a much cheaper LED that looks basically the same. I mean, it can even be as bright, but it's not going to take those voltage variances, because Harleys waver quite a bit in your voltage you're getting to the rear end lighting. And it's not going to take all that vibration or even like waterproofing. So that's why we pride ourselves in using motorcycle grade LEDs, as well as providing lifetime warranty to back that up if anyone ever does have something happen. So that's kind of our philosophy behind the.
Well, I think one of the things that's impressive about you guys is the breadth of stuff that you produce. You know, I mean, you're not just like in a one little specific niche, but you have a really broad range of products, and at least everything that I've ever used of yours is just top-notch quality.
Well, and they're not overproducing it either, right? So they
Yeah.
don't have a million products, and they only have two that are that have put their name on the map either, right? Everything that they have is a good solid product and works really well. In fact, I use your highway peg mounts for a really long time. And in fact, the only reason I stopped using them was because I couldn't get them to work with the lowers that I got. I needed a little bit, because I liked the ones that had that, I don't even know what they're called, but they had the small clamshell design, and they were really sleek and small, and they were perfect, and I loved them, and I just needed, it just so happened that the one side kind of juts out a little bit, and it just didn't work as well when I put hard lowers on my bike.
I thought you were going to de-geezerfy your bike and get rid of those lowers, man.
I did. They're gone.
All
They're
right.
gone. They're not on there anymore.
Welcome to the young man's game, bro.
Oh man.
says the guy who just signed up for AARP.
No, man, my wife signed up for that a while back. They don't have record of me. One of the things I did want to get into a little bit tonight, it was one thing, Adam, that really resonated with me when I was watching that the video you did on the bag when you were first talking about it, was the name, why you named it that, your family history in supporting the country. And, you know, if you don't mind, I would love to share that with the audience here.
Sure. Yeah. You know, so my, you know, one of the things I hear the most is people that recognize my last name, not anything to do with me, but just from the world. It's a very Spanish last name. Sandoval is a very Spanish and Hispanic last name, really Spanish, but a lot of them ended up in Mexico. And so there's a lot of Sandovals in Mexico. And I don't even say it right. Like, I go to Mexico and like I check into the resort and they correct me on how to say my name. Right. They're like, no, it's not Sandoval. They're like, Adam Sandoval. Like, we don't see Adam Sandoval. Like, oh, Adam Sandoval. And I'm like, yeah, you know, whatever.
I get that because I'm Persian.
Okay.
And I do not pronounce my last name correctly.
Yeah.
According to Persian. So
yeah,
I totally get that. Yeah.
So I get that a lot. But, you know, my grandfather came to America and he served on the Washington battleship in World War II. And that's how he got his citizenship here in America. So my granddad was 100% Mexican. My father was half Mexican, and I'm 1/4 Mexican. I don't look it. I look like my mother's side of the family, but I am. And, you know, I'm very much my dad's personality and my mom's side of the family looks. But, you know, then my dad wanted to serve, but he had polio as a kid and they wouldn't let him serve. And then I was just a complete mess up and just poor choices, distractions, temptations, everything, just chasing all the wrong things in life when I should have been, you know, serving my country. But my dad got into a car accident about 2 years before he retired, and he became quadriplegic in an F-250. He got in a wreck and became quadriplegic. And, you know, put a lot of things into perspective for me. You know, he worked his whole life to get to this retirement, and then, you know, loses the use of his, arms and legs. Aero knows my dad, or knew my dad. He passed here recently on me, but he really lost. He was a man's man, cowboy hat, boots, pickup truck, hands in the dirt. And he really lost a lot of himself when he lost the use of his arms and legs. Someone had to put him into bed. Someone had to take him out of bed. Someone had to put him in the shower. Someone had to take him out of the shower, and every other aspect of the day. And it got to the point where he just felt, I think he just lost the fight every day. He lost the drive. He lost, a lot of focus, and for good reason. And he had nothing, he had nothing he could really do. So I decided to go on this around the world or around the U.S. Trip to 702 Harley Davidson dealerships in a single run and raise money for charity at each one. It was the Scoot in America campaign. It's how I got my start online. If you don't know, a lot of videos and stuff out there and news articles you can read about it. But I went to my dad and I told my dad, who was like the hardest man I've known my entire life. And I said, I'm going to sell all my things, quit my job, and I'm going to get on my bike and I'm just going to start riding. And I'm going to ride and ride and ride until I hit every Harley Davidson dealership in the world. And I'm going to raise money for veterans since I didn't serve. This is going to be my way to give back. And for sure, I thought he was going to tell me I'm an idiot and, don't give up your job and don't do this, don't do that. And, you need to, save and buckle down and work harder and all the things he's told me my whole life. But he didn't. He said, you know what, Adam? He's like, if you don't do that, you're an absolute idiot. He's like, that is a great idea. You need to do it. So I started planning, and I got him a computer where he could use his eyes and his voice to operate it. And I gave him a list of every Harley Davidson dealership in America. And he went to work on contacting them every day, telling them who I was. Nobody knew who I was. Nobody knew what I was doing. I had 100 followers, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't like it is today. And I said, call these dealerships and let them know I'm coming, let them know what I'm doing and see if they want to get involved in any way. And so he did that every day. My dad would get up, somebody would get him out of bed, they'd get him in that chair, they'd sit him in front of that computer, and he'd spend all day talking to all these Harley Davidson dealerships across the country about his boy who's going to show up with a little chihuahua on his Harley to raise some money for veterans. And it gave my dad a new purpose in life. And it created a bond between us stronger than we've ever had. And he was really proud of me. And I think probably the first time my dad has ever really been proud of me in my life. Like, he just wasn't that kind of dad, but I knew he was proud of me at that point, and I'm starting to get emotional. So, so when I wanted to develop this bag, I wanted to name it after my dad in honor of him, because if he hadn't supported me in going off and taking this journey, I never would have came to where I am today. And, I'm living a pretty good life right now, and I'm pretty thankful for the people in my life. And, my dad is the one who helped me put all that together. So I named this bag after my dad.
That's very
incredible.
Cool. Yeah.
That's very cool.
So sorry, didn't mean to get
Sorry,
emotional, but
I feel like Barbara Walters, Barbara Wawa.
There you go.
Yeah, I just miss my dad.
No, it's
tough.
It's it's a great, and that's why it really, everything really resonated. And your grandfathers, both your grandfathers serving.
Both my grandfathers
in World War II. Did they serve in Korea as well, or is it just World War II?
No, World War II. My granddad on my mom's side, Peters, he was there on day 3 of D-Day. So he was in the Army, and he saw a lot of shit too.
Yeah, that was another way early on when I first started riding again that I connected to. Your content actually was one of the first things I connected to, and watching you basically throw a tarp down a camp on the side of the road. I told my wife I wanted to do that, and she said the same thing. She said I was completely insane. But one of the things that you said early on that I connected with was that I was also a legacy. Both of my grandfathers served in World War II. One was overseas on an island, and the other one was in the Navy. And I was 19. I was completely a little bit lost. My wife and I were kind of we weren't married at the time, but we were kind of separated because we're high school sweethearts, and we've been married 28 years now. But there was a period of time when we were not together, and
I don't know how the hell she does it.
yeah, I know. I don't know how she does it either, Dave. But I was 19. I was pretty lost, and I was, in the midst of talking to a recruiter and that kind of stuff. And my wife and I had just started talking again, and had reconciled, and so things were pointed in the right direction. But I still had this in the back of my mind, and I broke my arm rollerblading. Not only did I break my arm, but I broke my arm in half. And both bones pushed out the side of my skin. I got 2 plates, 12 screws, 52 staples, and 2 surgeries. And I immediately was blacklisted because this was in the 90s. It was post Gulf War, but pre-Afghanistan. And so a 19-year-old with hardware in his left arm was not what they wanted. And so they stopped calling. And I really wanted nothing more than to be in the Navy. I saw this as a perfect opportunity to, number one, support my family. And number two, right, the adventure of being on a ship and being out. And that was a legacy thing for me too. My grandfather was a huge influence in my life and was in the Navy. And I really thought that was my path. And I learned quickly that when life changes, you know, those are things you don't have any control over, and that wasn't my path. And so, I did something different, and I don't regret that, but I do always wish that I would have served. It's a regret of mine, and one of the only. I don't regret a lot in life, but I do regret that. So it was another way that I connected to, you talking about that, Adam, and putting that out there, and was just another one of those things that I connected with.
Yeah, I think that I've learned, I've got to ride with a lot of veterans, and I've spent a lot of time with a lot of veterans. I've spent months living off the back of bikes right alongside of veterans. And, veterans that are deployed, especially, on the front line or even like recon, or even, I spent a lot of time with the guy who's force recon, and I don't know, does everybody know like difference between like recon and all that, what recon is, reconnaissance is?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah, no, yes,
I don't really know.
Okay, so if this is the enemy line and your troops are lined up on this side of it, okay, your troops are lined up over here, and this is your base and everything's back here, and your troops, and here's where the battle's fighting. The recon guys are back behind the enemy line in here fighting. Okay, so those are the guys that go behind enemy line into enemy territory, and they're fighting over there. Okay, simplistically put. So these guys really have to count on one another and count on their systems and count on their processes. And I think that is part of what is so sexy about the military to me, and what made me and makes me regret not going and wanting to be part of it, is that bond, and that being able to count on one another, and being in a situation where everybody needs to perform at their best. Everybody needs to do what they say they're going to do. And you need to count on one another, and you need to have that unity. And I think I get some of that same unity out of the motorcycle community. You get that same brotherhood, you get that same trust. Now I'm not suggesting it's the exact same as the military, okay? But I'm saying the same essence, that community, that trust, that brother and sisterhood. That is something, when you go on a road trip with somebody and you're traveling every day, you need to be able to count on those people. And you've got to be on top of your A game, because anything can happen out there. And I think I get a lot of that out of the motorcycle community.
There's a parallel. There's a lot of similarities. And I mean, it really comes from, what it boils down to is what you get from a shared experience, right? And that shared experience bonds you. And it bonds you with people that you didn't really share that experience with. I know Ryan rides with a good friend named Nick. And Nick is an Air Force vet, and I'm an Army vet. And I don't know how long it took for us to figure that out, but I will tell you that once we both realized that, our relationship shifted into a different state,
Sure.
right? Because as veterans, we had that shared experience, that bonds everybody together.
Yeah.
And you get that within the motorcycling community as well,
It's similar, right?
for sure. Yeah, very, very similar.
No, I think let me look and see if we have what we
We
have
do
on
have
Discord.
while you're looking, Adam, you've got another convoy coming up,
I do.
right?
I do. I'm excited about it.
Anything you want to throw out on that?
Well, we haven't released a lot. We've released the start date, which is July 6th in New York at FX. I always say this wrong, and she's going to kill me. FX Caprera.
Yeah. I've been there. Yeah.
FX Caprera.
Yeah.
Super cool
Wow.
dealership. Really great people.
Yep.
Family owned and ran, and they're attentive. And so we're going to launch it at their dealership there July 6th.
Wow.
And we're going to end at the Sturgis Buffalo Chip on August 8th for the Kid Rock concert.
Well, hopefully without all the mud we had there last year.
Hopefully without all the mud we had there last year, for sure.
Yeah.
But we're going to give away a bike again. So this year, we're not going to give away the bike I ride. We're going to give away the winner's choice of a brand new bike off a showroom floor. So you get to pick your color, you get to pick your model, you get to pick any touring bike you want off the showroom floor, with the exception of like Screaming Eagle, of course. But so that's really exciting. So, and again, all you got to do is just show up at one of my stops to be part of it. And we really twisted it up this year, and I haven't released a lot of this yet, but we really twisted up this year, and we want it to be more than just dealership stops. We still want to do the dealership stops. We still want to do the fundraising, but it got to be a real grind. We did whatever it was, 86 days straight. Might have been 84, 86. I always get it wrong. Straight. And it was dealership stops every single day. And that becomes very taxing, very wearing. And of course, the content is, okay, here we are at another Harley-Davidson dealership. So this year, we are going to implement a lot of bucket list rides. And I haven't announced any of them yet. And I'll give you a couple of them today. So we're going to do some things that are not dealership stops, that are bucket list stuff for people that want to come out and be part of this. They can come and hit some things that they've always wanted to hit. So just naming a few, we will hit Blue Ridge Parkway. We will hit Tail the Dragon. We'll hit Rocky Mountain National Park. We're going to hit Glacier National Park. We're going to hit Beartooth Pass.
Nice.
Chief Joseph Highway. We're doing a couple different passes in Colorado. And there's a few other ones in there. I'll leave it at that. But bucket list places people want to ride. The convoy is going to take days off from fundraising to share these dream places to ride with other riders.
That's cool. That's cool. And you're doing that from when are you guys leaving FX?
July 6th.
And you're getting in on the 8th.
Yeah.
I'll reach out before, because I was telling you before we started recording, I'm in the middle of doing this Love and Gratitude tour where I'm riding the lower 48 and thanking people that have been a part of my life. And I'm actually going to be on the second longest leg of that tour during that time, ending up in South Dakota. So I don't know, compare notes, and maybe I can hook up with you and we can have a little fun. That'd be cool.
And we'll also be at the Milwaukee party. Harley-Davidson's doing their homecoming party every year now. I don't know if you guys are aware of that.
Yep.
So we'll be there too for Jelly Roll and all that good stuff.
Nice.
Cool. I think the homecoming this year is during our event, actually, Dave.
I think you're right.
Yeah. I think it is. Yep.
I wasn't going to go because the FDBM meetup is like off. It's going to be off the charts this year. So I'm going to go to the FDBM.
So Adam, I do have one question for you. The Discord questions aren't really that great, so I'm gonna leave those. But I do have one question for you. So you've done hard parts with Ciro, you've done a seat, you've now done a bag. With all your experience riding, distance riding, all the places you've been, any thoughts on gear? And I don't mean t-shirts and hats, because we know you got that covered too. Any thoughts on doing some R&D and putting out some gear, either like a rain gear, a riding boot, something like that?
I've got a lot of interest in putting out a rain gear. I've yet to wear rain gear that I love.
Sure.
I've got some rain gear. Frogstogs is good. I like it. The climb stuff is good. I like it a little better than Frogstogs myself. But that's not a sponsorship deal. That's just
Right. No,
well,
yeah,
right.
that's fair.
I think I could make a better rain gear than anybody else has. I think I could tell a designer.
There you go.
Right.
What to
Aero, this
design.
sounds like a challenge, man.
Yeah, to make a rain gear better than any other rain gear out there. I just truly believe I can. I mean, there's just some things that we could do that would just superiorly, improve its functionality and simplicity.
Right. Packability.
Packability.
You guys
Packability
should
has
do
got
it.
to
You
be
should
on the
do it.
list of rain gear because it takes up so much space.
So much space, but it's also got to be
No,
durable.
you do it right.
Yeah.
You hate being out there in a trash bag that rips as soon as
Yep.
it touches your exhaust, it melts. Like,
Yep.
you know what I mean? So there's
Yep.
some features there that need to be thought out and built right.
There's a balance you have to strike.
yeah.
And
And I've got my eye on developing some other hard parts as well. So
Sure.
and I really, really have an itching, and I know everybody's doing it, so it's kind of played out, but I really want to and I'm kind of showing my hand here because it's something I have been working on, but it's not ready yet. But I really want to launch a line of, and like I said, I know it's played out, of flannels that are military focused.
Okay.
I really want to do like a charitable, like military focused line of flannels. Like my thought is to design one flannel for every branch of the military.
Army first.
Army first.
Army first.
And then expand from there. But I really do want to get into the flannels because, and not because I think I can improve. I think that flannels are done very well by several companies right now.
Yeah.
I just would like to do my own designs.
Well, I learned this trip, do not underestimate the value of a really quality flannel. Because I the whole trip, I had one layer on.
Yeah. Ciro, you guys got a new flannel out, don't you?
Yeah, we actually just did one for our 10th anniversary.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. It's like a rider geared flannel. It's got a little glasses holder on the pocket. It's got buttons on the collar so it doesn't flop up and hit you. And it's really nice material. It's high quality. People have been loving them so far. So
I didn't see that announcement come out.
I don't think anybody needs to apologize about flannels, and I don't think you need to feel like they're played out, Adam. I mean, I get where you're coming from there, but I think that I wore them pre-motorcycling. I wear them now. I'm never going to apologize for a good flannel, right? Because they on a motorcycle, they're if it's functional and they look good and they hold up the way that you want them to, I'm never going to apologize for a good flannel. I don't give a shit how played out people say they are.
Yeah.
That's not, you know what I mean? Like that's just one of those things I just don't care about. Right. But
Aero, those look
there's
nice.
some things that has to do to be a good motorcycle flannel, right? You don't want that, first time you put your arms up to your bike and now you're wearing a short sleeve flannel, right?
Yeah.
That's just not one of them. But
that's I guess kind of what I was saying is, I'm not trying to say, like, I truly believe we designed some luggage. And of course everybody thinks their own stuff is the best, but take that out of it. I think this is the best piece of luggage on the market right now. Period. Right. And I think by leaps and bounds, and I think the reviews of everybody who's gotten them, and there's hundreds of them out there already, and I think everybody else is agreeing from what we're hearing. Best piece of luggage on the market.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to putting it through its paces over the next 3 months.
Yeah, man. I look forward to the feedback, man. I hope you love it as much as I do. I've been putting mine through paces.
I'm a bit of a dick when it comes to luggage.
It's not just luggage, Dave.
A lot of things in life, but I have a particular thing about luggage. I'm really excited about this. But Aero, I was just on the website and looking at these shirts. These shirts look really cool. I guess you could consider these even high vis.
Yeah, I suppose you could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those look great. Well, Aero, before we leave, any big stuff coming up at Ciro that you want to talk about or tease about? Or
if you're getting one of the new 24 bikes, the Street Glide or the Road Glide, and you're looking for lighting for that, comfort stuff, I mean, all the stuff we usually do. We're just adapting all our best products from the previous bikes, the Rushmore models, to these new bikes. And so keep an eye open for that. It's going to be, I can't really tell you exactly what our plans are for it yet, but we've got some great things in the works, and should be available late this year and early 2025. So
Is that,
keep an eye on the website for that.
are the changes significant enough where that's a fairly big challenge for people to re-engineer for the new bikes?
Yeah, I mean, the bodywork is completely different, and all of our accessories are designed for the specific model. So they mate perfectly to the surface of your motorcycle. So they look like they're factory. They look like they go with the bike. They're not some universal crap you'd find at AutoZone and just bolt it on. So that takes a lot of development. We 3D scan the entire bike into the computer and build everything in SolidWorks to that exact mating surface. And so it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of investment for tooling and all that. And so there's going to be some big changes, and we've got a lot of new technology for this new product line that I can't outline yet because I don't want anyone knowing about it. But I think when it comes up, people can be impressed, and it'll be pretty cool. So we're excited. We learned a lot with the last bike, and so the new stuff is going to be even better than the previous.
Are there going to be any big announcements at Sturgis?
Yeah, Sturgis will have the first few products available for the bike, and stuff like that is mainly things that we were able to make modification to existing products, like our highway pegs. We've got a new floorboard line and foot control line coming out, and that stuff was fairly easy to adapt to the new bike because the frame area in that section of the bike didn't change a whole lot. But any of the bodywork stuff that's going to need like extensive tooling changes and just completely ground up designs, that's going to be probably early 2025.
Okay.
Very
And
cool.
so why don't you go ahead and tell everybody where they can find you at?
Yeah, just type in Ciro on Google. And then our website is Ciro3D.com. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and all those platforms, as well as if you type in Ciro3D, Ciro 3D.
All right.
So I've got one final question for you, Aero, because I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to this stuff. How did you come up with the name? Why, how, and why Ciro?
That was kind of tough because I had a list of probably 70, 80 names that I was choosing from back in, this would have been 2013. And then, so I had a whole bunch that I liked. I picked like a top 10, did trademark searches on them all. And then I had logos and graphic art designed for like my top 3. And Ciro was in that top 3 just because I really like the logo. I really like the snake thing. And then in Latin, it means like ruler or Lord. And my goal was to set out to kind of rule the motorcycle aftermarket. So I thought it had a cool meaning behind it, cool design, easy to remember and unique. And we went with the green because it stands out more on the Harley dealers when everything else you see in there is orange and black, red and black, like more traditional colors. So I thought it was a good branding opportunity as well.
I dig that. That's super cool. I went back to Greek and Latin when I named my company too. I thought that was yeah, that's super cool. I've always kind of tried to figure that out. Why Ciro? What does that mean?
Yeah. Well,
awesome.
Thank you guys for joining us, and Adam, thank you for being our one of our first third-time guests. We really appreciate it. Back to the first time when you joined us from your Jeep. I think it was snowing outside the first time you joined us. So we always really appreciate having you on. And I don't think I should have to say this, but tell everybody where they can find you, Adam.
YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. It's just my name, Adam Sandoval, as they have so conveniently put on the screen right there. Yeah, AdamSandoval.com, Adam Sandoval, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, everything else. I wish they would just stop making social media platforms because I'm sick of keeping.
I know, right?
Too many, man.
Too many.
Many. Golly.
This trip was so challenging because I had my personal accounts, then I had my YouTube accounts, and after like 3 days, I gave up, and I was just posting my personal account. I'm like, this trip's about my friends and family, not about drone. But it's to keep up with for sure. But I was thinking, you brought that up, Brian. This is 3 times for Adam. Saturday Night Live gives away those smoking jackets for 5-time hosts.
For 5-time hosts.
So I think we're going to have to come up with something for 5-time guests, and I'm pretty sure Adam's going to be the first one to get whatever.
Yeah, He probably will be for sure. So, well,
Yeah.
again, I really appreciate you guys joining us. To the community out there, get out, give these guys a follow, check out their products. If you've got, I know somebody who's got a 24 who probably needs some Ciro products on his bike, so he better get out and he's always a good supporter. If you guys are looking for luggage for traveling, I know a bunch of you are coming out to FTBM 24 this year, and if you need a bag, you better go buy Adam's bag because it is the best. He says it's the best, and with as many miles as he rides, you have to believe that that's a true statement.
Yeah, how can it not be?
I would believe it would have to be true. But don't take his word for it. Just get out there and buy it, and then put miles on it, and then you'll know it to be true.
And ride.
Right? Yeah, get out and ride. Join our Discord because our Discord is
Fucking free.
Right? So get out and join our Discord, and if you like what we do, join our Patreon. Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate you coming on and coming on our podcast. I can't thank you guys enough. Thank you for coming on together. It was great to have you guys both on together. That's
absolutely.
thank you.
I'd
That's
love
awesome.
to, Aero.
So-
We'd love to have you guys come back on later in the year to talk about the new product line.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
Whenever you get it
Yeah.
out. And Adam, as always, thank you so much for everything you do to support my brothers and sisters. And
Man,
we really appreciate it.
it's a big deal. It's a big deal what you all have done for our country, and the country we live in is a beautiful country. Countries where we can go out and do things like this and create products and create podcasts and just do what we want to do and live our lives. And for that, we're all blessed and should be thankful.